Get connected with Take Two Radio on Facebook or Twitter at Take Two Radio. For email updates on future shows, follow at Blog Talk Radio. For previous episodes, upcoming guests, and more, visit Take2Radio.com.
And now, the fastest hour in paranormal talk radio. Welcome to the Malliard Report.
It's the Malliard Report, the Malliard Report. There's paranormal things and so much more. Jim is here to explore. It's the Malliard Report. It's the fastest hour in paranormal talk radio. It's the Malliard Report, the Malliard Report. Here we go.
And now your host, Jim Malliard.
And you're listening to the Malliard Report live exclusively on KGRA, digital broadcasting Van Buren, Arkansas. My guest tonight is Jimmy-Petonito. How do you say your last name? I always hear yourself referring to yourself as Mr. Haunted. I don't know how you say your last name.
Exactly why I call myself Haunted, because it's Petonito and nobody knows how to pronounce it.
Well, from now on, it's Mr. Haunted. How are you doing tonight, Jimmy?
I'm dandy. How are you?
Pretty good. So I want to kind of run the gamut tonight with you. I want to talk about what got you interested in the paranormal, and then some of your early investigation stuff, and then I want to get into like present day stuff, and then I want to get into the future probably after the break, or we'll probably get to a lot of that stuff after the break. So, Bill, my lovely chatter, he always sends me questions, and he sent me one about 8:30 to have you tell me about when you were 10 years old.
Thanks, Bill.
So, go ahead.
So this is my favorite story, actually. I was about 10, and I was listening to a baseball game on the radio, and I was laying on my bed on my stomach, and it was a baseball game, and I had my feet propped up in the air, and and my mother, this is important. My mother had company over, and she says, Jimmy, because I guess I was an embarrassment. I was a little nerdy kid with glasses and Incredible Hulk jammies on. And so, Jim, don't come downstairs. I have company over. So I was up in my room listening to my radio, lights on and everything. And the radio started changing stations. And I figure it's natural. I don't think anything of it. But I look over to the dials on the AM radio I had, and they were actually moving physically. So I freaked out, and I ran downstairs and embarrassed her in front of her company and said, Mom, there's a ghost in my room, and it's changing the radio stations, and it threw my legs down on the ground. And she says, Jimmy, get back up in bed. There's no such thing as ghosts. And I think that started it all.
So, obviously, you could have just went off to bed and believed her, so what made you keep thinking there was such a thing as ghosts?
I don't know why. I'm sure I'm like a lot of you guys. I always was fascinated by anything paranormal. When I was a kid, they didn't have the ghost hunter shows. They had In Search of with Leonard Nimoy and Unsolved Mysteries and stuff like that. And I just couldn't wait for those shows to go on. And when I first saw In Search of, one of the episodes was In Search of Ghosts. And I was a little kid, 7 or 8 or something. But I went down the basement with my flashlight, turned off all the lights, and was searching for ghosts. I thought they'd actually, appear, because I just saw the program. But it didn't work. I don't know. I've always into it.
See, you must be some kind of gifted, because I have on my notes, this is exactly how it appears before it was cool. Because I wanted to ask you about what it was like to be into the paranormal before it was cool, because you mentioned the TV shows and how
Good question.
How hyped it was now.
Good question. It was, before imagine this, guys. I was around before the internet, and there was no websites to look up. Let me go to a haunted location. All I had was I have a wall full of books I've collected since I was a kid, with haunted cemeteries, haunted places, and any kind of haunted book I could get my hands on. And I didn't know where to go, So I started out doing the cemetery thing, like taking pictures at supposedly haunted cemeteries when I was able to find out where they were. The weird thing about it was when I started investigating, like locations and residences and stuff with the Warrens, it was customary after an investigation, we get out at 2, 3 o'clock in the morning or whatever, and we go to a diner. and have something to eat. And there would always be like people at other tables kind of whispering and pointing at us, like, you know, like now they'd be looking for your autograph, not me, but them. You know, it's like they'd be looking for your autograph, and back then they'd look at us like, you know, they're disgusted by like, you know,
well,
we know what you're
I've been in the same situation where the people thought I was crazy, and it wasn't that long ago. So
yeah.
Well, here's something else that kind of baffles me, because you just started out as, like you said, as a young kid doing this, and somehow, by the grace of whatever, you ended up getting connected with Ed and Lorraine Warren. How did that even come together? I mean, like you said, there wasn't any internet, so you weren't like searching them out to try to become an intern or whatever it would be.
And also, let me state, I'm not one of these people that like I'm in my late 40s, and I'm not going to say I've been investigating for 40 years, so 7, you know. But
well, you could.
Yeah, but I haven't. Yeah. But I was probably my early 20s, I think, and I was there's a cemetery in Connecticut that this is the first one I ever found, because you had to know a friend of a friend of a friend that knew where this cemetery was. And it was Union Cemetery in Easton, Connecticut. And I went there because people told me that this white lady appears and you could take her picture. That's what I understood. And I went there one night and was taking pictures, and of course didn't see anything. I was there for a few hours and didn't see the white lady. And I really would have never went back again, except I got my pictures. When I got my pictures developed later, I got some of that mysterious white stuff on it, not orbs or smoke or anything. It was intriguing to me. So I went back again and got some more stuff, and I collected like a whole book of pictures. And I met a woman, Debbie, one night up there taking pictures, and I was showing her my pictures, and she goes, "Oh, the Warrens would like to see these. That I think they'd be interested." She worked with them, and she invited me to their classes, and it was a Monday night, and I went the next Monday and showed them my pictures, and they invited me to go to Monday night classes with them. So that's how I started with the Warrens.
Being at the right place at the right time.
Yeah.
So you mentioned having your film developed. That has to be.
Oh yeah, some people don't know what that is.
Well, I'm just sitting here thinking how much dedication it took. Well, not necessarily dedication. Dedication may be the wrong word. It probably is the wrong word. But I mean, for me to go out back tonight. Well, I'm not going out after the show. It's like 2 degrees. But on a nice spring night, I could go out and take hundreds of pictures with my digital camera and flop them in the computer and be done with it. Didn't cost me anything but time. So for you to go out and take even a roll of pictures that you had to buy the film and then have them developed, that's probably a couple bucks out of your pocket every clip that you went out there.
When you're making $6 an hour and going there once a week and paying for your film, paying for your developing costs, it was it was a lot.
So the other question I always hear debated: did you catch more stuff? Catch more stuff. This is again not worded as proper as it could be. Back with the film, or do you prefer digital?
I haven't been since I've had I have 2 children now, and since the birth of my second daughter, I haven't really actively been going out that much. But I found that I got a lot more pictures with the 35 millimeter camera than digital. Even though digital, you get instant gratification if you get a picture and you can keep focusing on one spot or whatever. I got more with the camera, the 35 millimeter, and you have the negatives. Like I said, there always could be some kind of natural explanation for why you're getting these weird pictures, but I still have the negatives. I've saved the negatives for 20-something years. I still have all of them because I'm always waiting for my one day in court when they go, "These are all fake." And I'm like, I have the negative. I had to create a smoke show in front of my friends to be at a talk show in 20 years. No.
Well, hey, stranger things have happened. No, I'm just kidding. No, and that's the thing, though. I mean, so many. I'm sure you're familiar. I'm not going to name names or mention anybody, but they post so many things that you just know are horrible and fake. Well, not necessarily fake, but just misinformed. So I want to send people to your website, MrHaunted.com, and there's a page, Psychic Photography or whatever it's called. You'll find it. It's at the top there. Click on it, and there's some great information about taking pictures and what to look for and when not to take pictures, which is just, I think, phenomenal information.
Yeah, that's pretty much. Like back when I this website, I probably started in 1990 something, and I've changed my philosophies a lot since I had somebody do my website, but yeah, I still agree with some of the stuff up there. Obviously, don't take pictures in the snow or rain. Or I've seen people. My favorite is when people are taking pictures in the rain, and they would come to class, and I was with them, and I said, I'm not taking pictures because it's raining out or even moist out, and they come in and oh, look at all the orbs. Like, oh God.
Really? Or
Yeah.
snow. I love snow. I love the snow. And you can clearly see in the background the trees blowing, so the wind's blowing, and it's like, yeah. Or somebody sent me a picture once with, was anybody smoking? No, nobody was smoking. Well, what's in that guy's hand then?
Yeah. And like I said, I don't expect anybody to believe anything I got. I always encourage people to do it themselves so they could see for themselves,
Yeah. And that's the thing. And we're not going to get repeat results, but as long as we're starting to get a consensus, we're on the right track.
Right.
So, back when you were newly into this, what was the driving force that kept you? I mean, obviously you could have just kept doing your own thing, but instead of doing that, you turned and started collaborating, I guess, with other people to start to build some knowledge. Is that, I guess, what it was?
No, you know what? Honestly, Jim, I don't know anything. What a terrible guest.
Oh, thanks, Jimmy. That's throw me right under the bus. My guest knows nothing. Oh, good. This will be good.
After doing all this, I know there's something, but I don't have all the answers. Is what I'm saying. I'm not one of these experts that people call. I don't call myself an expert or anything like that.
So that won't be on your banner, paranormal expert.
No, it won't.
Okay, so another interesting topic that I found that you took part of is exorcisms. Now, this is a delicate topic, obviously, and I don't want to get anywhere that you don't want to go.
Right.
But what's the back steps before you get to that point? What does a group of investigators do before you get to that point? Obviously, you're not waking up Monday morning after getting a call from somebody and saying, "I'm demonically possessed," and you just roll out and do an exorcism.
Yeah, and remember that question. I'm trying to address things in the chat room for a second. All my website, I have like some really, really good pictures that I don't put on the website because people started copying and pasting them and putting them on their own pages, and so I took them down. So my best pictures are not up there, like full apparitions and that sort of thing, and some of my favorite pictures aren't on there. I use those. I used to do presentations and stuff, slide presentations. But the exorcism stuff, I never did any. I was involved with some possibly, if you want to call them demonic cases, when I was with the Warrens. But it wasn't until I was in two groups kind of at the same time, overlapping around 2000, and we had one case that was possibly possession, and we wrote about that on our website. It was the only one we had, and we purposely were trying to get away from. We just wanted to investigate regular hauntings, like regular haunted house, and get away from all the demonic, because the Warrens were getting all the best cases around. They're picking the most dangerous ones and the ones that people needed help quickly. So we were trying to let's just kind of like make it lighter. Let's try to start another group with little lighter fare. So as on our website, we had one story about exorcism, and a producer from ABC was, I guess, looking at websites looking for exorcism stories, and they came across our website, and they asked us to do a special on Primetime Live, which we weren't. We weren't doing this all the time anyway. This is one case that we had, and after that aired on Primetime Live, we're getting calls from all over the country with people that wanted exorcisms for members of their family or friends and stuff like that.
I was gonna say that had to have blew up your phone for probably a week or two at least.
For over a year.
Really?
Yeah, we had a group of about 5 or 6 people, and I have it's funny that you asked, because I have a folder right here Hear that? I have a folder right here that I took out from 1998, this one was, and it was literally 12 pages of people's names, addresses, phone numbers, symptoms, and we each were given, so many names each to follow up on and call, and if we thought their story was intriguing or legit, we'd follow up with them, question them, even coordinate plans for them to get from wherever they are in the country to here, to give them a ride from the airport to the church, and it was quite a busy year.
So how many did you? Out of the, I don't want to put a number on it. So how many did you actually process through to completion?
I probably have 25 to 35 on DVD, and then there's ones that I didn't, tape at all. So I'm thinking somewhere between 40 and 50.
Okay. So, question from the chat room. I'm just going to ask it because it's better than the question I had. Have you ever investigated a place where satanic rituals have taken place? Thanks, Road Warrior.
Just when I was when I was a kid going to the cemeteries and stuff, there's a place in Connecticut called Dudleytown. If no one's from here, they might not have heard of it. But there was a lot of satanic rituals going on in there. That was an abandoned town in Cornwall, Connecticut. And it's just it's a ghost town now. There used to be a whole town with houses and streets, and now it's just an overgrown path with just cellar holes. And there's a lot of I think I have a picture of that on my website. One of the trees we found with some kind of symbols on it, it looks like dried blood on the table. And actually, when we were going there, it was illegal to go there at night. So we'd, we were good, and we would leave when it started getting dark, and then the guys with the robes would come in at night. And it wasn't like, they were like 16-year-old kids with Ozzy Osbourne shirts. They were like adults, like coming in with these robes and suitcases of God knows what. And
I love my listeners because they make my job easy. Over on Twitter, JD Cook wants me to ask you, have you ever been in the cemetery taking pictures and had it felt like, and it just moved, I was just trying to read it, had it felt like someone was touching you with hot hands?
I've never had that, no.
Okay. That'd be a weird sensation. I've felt the chill right down to the bone, but not...
Yeah, I wouldn't like that.
Hot.
I don't think I'd like
that. Tonight I might, if somebody would put hot hands on my feet, I might like that, but that's a whole other can of worms.
Rub my feet. The old Barry White song.
And Mr. Ray Hobbs. I knew that would get you involved. If the person who is possessed is over the age of the majority, do you need their consent? I'm thinking it means under the age, like under the age of 18, like Lorraine. Is that what I'm supposed to be gathering? If it's a child? Because obviously if they're an adult, you can just probably get their consent to do it.
That's what I was saying. There was, after I was young when I did this, and so we weren't prepared for the attention we got. And there was a couple cases where, actually this is when I left that group. There was a girl there was, I think, 2 kids in the house, and I think they were both under 11, or 11 and one was maybe, they're both under 11 years old. And they weren't acting up. They're getting an exorcism. They weren't being restrained, but there were people, we were there to restrain them in case it needed to be. They needed to be. And I was behind one of the kids, and the other girl, who was more of the leader of our group, was behind the other one. And she's like, she's holding the girl down by her shoulders. And she was, Jim, hold her down. And I said, I'm not touching this little girl. She's not acting up. I'm not. It's like I don't think I think I'll be able to get to her before she tries to attack the priest if that happened. And we kind of got into a little argument about it, and that's the last time I worked with them, because I said I'm not putting my hands on a little kid. Who knows what's going to happen.
Yeah, I was going to say that's a lawsuit. Well, I guess back then it probably wasn't a lawsuit waiting to happen, but today, good grief.
It didn't feel right, Well, I'm going to hold this little girl down. But I don't know about the age of consent or anything like that.
Well, okay, Bill from New York again. I love Bill. I should probably give him an official role so he just shuts up. Was any of your assisted exorcism sanctioned by the Catholic Church? Easy for me to say. And did you ever see a person truly possessed by a demonic entity?
Oh, the bulk of the exorcisms we did, there's probably one priest that I don't, it was a blur, a whole year and a half of a blur. 99% of the exorcisms that I assisted with was with Robert McKenna, Bishop Robert McKenna, who is a traditional Catholic priest. And
this is a tough one that I always weigh with. Granny of Fives asking the difference between mental illness and possession.
That's a gray area right there. Sometimes
I tell you, I spend more time debating that with people than anything else they probably do.
Yeah,
so I'm sure you had the same.
It's a great question because it is a gray area, and there might be a little of both. And also, if you believe in the demonic, it also picks on the weaker people physically or mentally. And there's another part of me that thinks if somebody's mentally ill and they believe they're possessed and they get an exorcism, they might think they're better too. So there's a lot of goes back and forth with that.
Because sometimes it is just I don't want to say a horrible mental condition even. It's just a depression or something that a little, how do I say this, a little magic, there we go, that's a nice word, will help the people. In other cases, the little magic will prevent them from seeking the help they need. So it can be a very touchy subject.
Right, and you know what? That brought up a thing that that used to bother me. During the exorcisms, there was certain people of the group that would say, why not give this person that can't hurt? Especially those little kids I was talking about before. And I was saying, like, it can't hurt to give them exorcism. And I'm saying, you to have that memory in your lives all your life that a priest came over to your house and was shouting at you and, the holy water, and I sure it could hurt somebody,
Even I fear having a group of investigators somewhere could put a child in the wrong frame of mind to what's going on in their house. If, say me and you go in and we don't find anything, but the child wakes up and has these strangers in his house, what's the benefit of that even?
Right.
There's so many different variables that I don't think necessarily people even think about. So
luckily I was always in a group where I was like not the main guy. I was always I like being on the sidelines more.
That's funny because that's the other phrase I had wrote down in my notes to mention to you is rode the pine. How it was different for you when you first started because you had to, like you said, you were going to a class. It wasn't like you just went out and formed an own investigation group and just started out and just went for it.
Right. When we went to classes, it was like, I remember, like, all you knew were, the ghost books you buy at school when the little wagon comes around. That was all we had, and like a couple shows on TV once in a while.
Yeah, I understand. So let's go to break, and then we come back. We'll talk about present day investigating and the TV shows and where we see the paranormal going since you've been around for so long. So you are listening to the Malliard Report on KGRradio.com. We'll be right back.
For some amazing new book reads, visit TeresaMortimer.com. This award-winning author began writing to hide her own experiences with domestic violence. Her books are well-written and truly come from the heart. That's TeresaMortimer.com. See why her books, The Hide from Death and The Hide from Death 2, are on the top of everyone's list. You can grab a copy from Amazon.com right now for Kindle, hardcover, or paperback, or simply visit the website at TeresaMortimer.com for more info.
Sure, humans can be a little weird at times, but take it from me, I'm a dog. And a person is about the best thing that can happen to a shelter pet. So if you want to learn how you can be that person, get down to your local pet shelter or visit theshelterpetproject.org. Brought to you by the Ad Council.
Hello, I'm Richard Dolan, and I spend most of my time thinking about, writing about, and talking about UFOs. yes, I know it's a little different, I'll grant you that. But I feel like the luckiest guy in the world because I get to focus my life on something that has fascinated me for 20 years now and has not let go. That's why I want to tell you about something new I've written. It's a fresh reformulation of the entire subject of UFOs. Everything. The sightings, the encounters, the politics, the cover-up, ancient aliens, the bizarre science, disclosure, being critically minded and open-minded in today's world. Frankly, everything that I know, everything that I think is important, everything that I feel is worthy. That's why it's called UFOs for the 21st Century Mind, a fresh guide to an ancient mystery. It's 500 pages, illustrated. It is everything that I could do. Visit my site at richardolanpress.com and learn more.
Catch the Mac Maloney Military X-Files with the Pope.
We really can't.
All right. I apologize to all the on the planet Earth, okay?
Right, we're all one big happy family here in the Mac Maloney Military X-Files show.
And the dope. Talk Mac for sake. Wednesdays, 7 to 9 p.m. Eastern. Only on KGRARadio.com.
Now you can share the topics that drive the discussions of your favorite talk shows with TalkStream Live's topic-driven talk radio. List and promote real-time talk radio topics, or post the topics that you want to hear. Hot topics are tweeted and retweeted, and include simple click-to-listen audio links. The future of talk radio is topic-driven talk radio. Available now at TalkStreamLive.com.
The station that talks the net. KGRA Radio.
Welcome back to the Malliard Report on the Global Radio Alliance. My guest tonight is Mr. Haunted. I tried to say his last name earlier, Jimmy. You corrected me, and I was so far off, and I didn't even scribble the notes to try to catch up with it. Sorry. So people yell at me because I don't know how to pronounce things, and then after hearing you pronounce it, I didn't have a chance anyways.
Yeah, and let me tell everybody too that I didn't deem myself Mr. Haunted, Mr. of all haunted in the world. It was my first AOL email name. And it became my eBay, my YouTube, my Yahoo, my MySpace, then I went out to Facebook, and then people at work were calling me that instead of Jim, so that's where I got that nickname from. Yeah.
So you mentioned earlier that you've been taking a break from investigating because of the birth of your second child, which I totally understand and get. Mm-hmm. But you probably have your finger on the pulse. I mean, you do a show and all that fun stuff, so you're kind of still in it.
That's why I like doing the show, because I can't get out that much, and I really love all this stuff, and I was so lucky to have some great guests this year, and did some fun shows, and still keeping my foot in the field there.
So do you think the field? How if I was going to ask you to sum up the field in a few words, how do you is it growing? I mean, not growing in size, but are we getting better at what we're doing, or are we kind of just playing the same way we played before?
It seems like there's a cookie cutter, I don't know what's the word for it, like a way of doing things for all the groups now. Like it's just not that it's bad, but like everybody's following the Ghost Hunters TV show theme. Like, this is my group, this is this person does this person does this, and it's the same. It's good and bad, because like I said before, we were looked at like total weirdos, and now it's like wherever you switch on your TV, there's a ghost show on. So it's good and bad. It's good and bad. It's more mainstream, but then there might be a lot of people doing it that shouldn't be doing it.
Oh, that's a fact.
How's that answer?
That's a good answer. So, well, you mentioned the Ghost Hunters. Now, why weren't you on that show? Oh, I'm just kidding. Now, right here the world. It's interesting how that show in particular, because that was the seed, so to speak, that spawned all the rest of them off. It's amazing how that show has survived, but I think we can both agree that show's on the downhill side of its existence. So, are we going to see another wave of new shows, or are we going to go away from paranormal TV shows? I know you're not into that, but
yeah, I think someone needs to come up with a fresh concept for a paranormal TV show, because to me they just blend into one another. And I know there's a couple of ones that are coming out that are a little different, but I liked the first season of Ghost Hunters. I enjoyed it, and then it just got to where you start seeing the what do you call it, produced effects, and I didn't mind when they didn't find anything. I like learning if there's a haunted location. I like learning the history about it and people's stories about the place, more than seeing 4 people running around with flashlights saying, "Oh, I heard something."
So I've got a question here that ties back to a TV show, I'm assuming. Well, it may not, but it kind of does. Did you ever come across any haunted objects?
Possibly. I have a few. because I said the Warrens were the only people that were, when I was younger, they were the only people that were doing this in this whole area. So I followed in their footsteps. Like they have a whole museum in their basement. John Zaffis, their nephew, has a whole haunted the whole house full of haunted objects. And if I went to a case where there was a possible haunted object, or somebody said this thing moved or whatever, I immediately said, "Can I have that?" So there were some cases where I got objects out of I had the blinking sneakers I'm looking at on the wall. I have my old lady slipper that appeared in the middle of somebody's living room. I have a Bible tape that was playing backwards during we're doing a house blessing, and their tape started playing backwards. I got that. I got a bunch of little artifacts. Not a lot to have a museum, but I do have some haunted objects, I think.
Wait, out of all those objects, only one caught my ear.
The sneakers?
It's because it ties back to something you mentioned in the first part. Playing audio backwards. Have you ever? Now, I can't even ask you this because this is opening a full-blown can of worms. Have you ever played the Bible backwards?
No, but that's a great idea.
Get on that and report back, because I think that'd be fun.
You know what? It's not a great idea. Let me tell you why. Because this was a case where this is the haunted cable box story that I talk about, and this was a case where the cable box was communicating to the people by switching stations, and the channels. Long story short, channel 1 was A and channel 26 was Z. So they'd ask, the TV was blinking rapidly one night. I don't know if you want to hear the whole story or not.
Well, go ahead. Just lay it out there. You might as well tell it.
Let's go for it.
20 minutes, so go for it.
All right. This was one of my favorite cases. We got a phone call that these people said their cable box is communicating with them. So we get there, and they said one night they're watching Seinfeld at 11 o'clock at night, or a rerun, and their cable box started switching on its own. And they figure, of course, there's something wrong with the cable tonight. Let's go to sleep. So the next day, they're watching TV again. 11 o'clock, starts switching stations again. There was a husband and wife, 14-year-old son, and a girl, I believe. And the son says, "Hey, maybe it's his cousin that committed suicide a few weeks ago in Florida." So as soon as he said that, it started racing from 0 to 72, whatever it went up to then, back, over and over again. So then the mother suggested, she goes, maybe, let's say that, channel 1 is A and Z is 26. As soon as they said that, it went to 25519, which would spell yes in that code. So for the next, few days, they were asking the TV questions and writing down all the channels and then deciphering the answers. It gave them this big, long story about how someone was killed in their apartment, that he was wrapped up in a carpet, brought down the street and buried. And the father said, this must be a soul in need. They want to call the police as they're missing persons, And the police came to their house. I took a picture of the police report that the police officer witnessed the cable box giving his phone number, how many kids he has, his social security number. So this cable box had knowledge of this cop that was investigating, which is kind of creepy. So we went to investigate this place a bunch of times. We really didn't get any physical evidence. When we saw like these black masses in one of the rooms, we just couldn't capture them on the film. And about the fifth or sixth time, they said, are you going to get us help? And I was like, this is what I was with the Warrens, and my job was to observe and then report back to them. And they said, you've been here a few times already. When are we going to get help? I said, well, all I could do is, do my job here, and then I present it to them. So I said, next time I come, we'll do a little thing, just do a little blessing of the house, just to, help out, hopefully a little bit. So we're going to do some prayers we had, and the father said he had a whole Bible on tape, on audio cassettes. And he says, do you want me to play one of these, or can I play one of these while you're doing that? I said, of course you can. So he goes, which one do you want to hear? And I just pointed to a random tape. And he puts it in their stereo. And as soon as he played it, it starts playing backwards. And like you said, playing the Bible backwards would be a good idea. It didn't sound good at all. Like it just sounded real creepy. So I said, turn that off. That's good. So then the next day, that night, the last thing that happened was the cable box wrote out, "Look out tonight." That was the last time it ever communicated. And when we got home the next day, I always call and follow up, the next day and say, how'd everything go last night, whatever. And I didn't get in touch with him, and I never got in touch with him again, and I found out they left the house. So I'll never know what happened that night, and I have the tape that plays backwards.
So I guess you don't know what happened to the cable box then. Dang.
Well, there's more to the story. That's the general idea of it. But they did find out there was no missing person. The police checked out the story. There was no missing person. There was nothing ever reported in that house. The supposed spirit gave a social security number that didn't exist. Nothing existed. So it seems like it used the cable box to get in, and then didn't need it anymore.
Got stuck in reruns. Oh.
Yeah,
that's not nice. So I'm assuming that's probably the most interesting point of entry you've seen for a spirit or a strange activity.
I'd have to say definitely the haunted cable box was the best case of entry.
So we're talking about in the chat room right now about, have you ever caught a spirit communicating through a foreign language or an ancient language, or they're just having some fun in there too? You mentioned earlier trying to keep up with these. I love it, but as you read it kind of makes you seasick. So
I'll go for 3 hours if you want. I'll get rid of all these questions, but I'm trying to concentrate on yours. I'm sorry, guys.
So have you ever caught anything in outside English?
I have about 3 exorcisms on tape that it might be speaking in tongues or just gibberish, but it definitely sounds like the cadence of a language. And I've posted a couple clips on Facebook before to see if anybody recognizes it, and nobody does. And I still think it's a language. I just don't know what it is. And I did. I believe somebody asked if I got something backwards or not before. But when I was experimenting with the backwards speech, I was doing some of the exorcism footage backwards. And I have one girl saying, when the priest was putting the cross on her in the holy water, she's screaming, "I don't want it, I don't want it, I don't want it." And backwards it says, "I don't like this part of me." That was one of the things I remember.
That's interesting. So I guess the next question I have, because I'm interested, is between the backwards and the straightforward EVPs, which way do you find the most clips?
The regular way, I guess. I mean, I don't want to go into this too much either.
I'm asking all the good questions tonight.
Yeah, well, because I don't go out that much anymore. If I get up early for work at 2:30 in the morning, and if I'm bored, I just go down my basement where my computer is, and just record silence for 30 seconds, and I get sentences all the time. It's like somebody likes me down here, but I'd say forward. And it's weird when we did a promo for the radio show. when we were trying to record the promo, there was a voice that was going that wouldn't let us talk. It kept interrupting our trying to record the promo process, and we actually recorded it. And backwards, it says frontwards it says guilty, and backwards it says I killed her. I have that right on my computer screen here, but I don't think I could share it right now.
Go ahead. So we've danced around the radio show. Go ahead and hit us with the hard promo here. When and where and what it's all about and all that stuff.
Well, on Paramania Radio, I have a show called The Haunted Chronicles, and I've been doing it for about a year. And Jim, you were there since day one, giving me tips. Thank you very much. I probably would have ran off by now and quit.
Well, I can't let you do that. It's important because I've been doing this for way too long, and I've seen the ups, the downs, and all that goes around it. And I guess I'll break. It's not official. I've kind of danced around this topic, but since you brought it up, I'm putting together. I don't want to say the book. I'm putting together my book of 100. I think it's 100 things I wish somebody would have told me before I started my show.
Yeah, I want to buy it. I'm first in line.
So I hope to have it out by May because that's when the show turns 4, and it's just a cool time to be promoting that. And
that is a great idea. That is a great idea.
You know what the funny thing was? So because you've asked me and a bunch of people have asked me, and I said, you know what? I'm done answering all these questions. I mean, I'll still answer them, obviously, but it'd be nice just to say, go read this first, and then if you still have questions, come to me, because I get asked the same question probably twice a week, and it's kind of like,
yeah.
If I just put it out there somewhere and have them go get it and read it, and they'll go, oh, so that answers all my questions, or then you can refine your questions a little bit more than what it was. So I'm hoping to have it out in May. People have been asking me for probably 5 years now when I'm going to write a book, so I'm going to put that one out first, and then maybe someday down the road after I get this book done and recovered, because I hate it already. I've only been working on it for about 6 weeks, and I hate it already. And it's not even going to be a full length book. It'll be lucky if it's 20 pages, but yeah.
No, but it's I would have bought it immediately, because when you start doing it, a lot of people ask me now, like just like I asked you, they're like, I want to start this thing up. How do I do it? It's like, do you really want to, it's like the first 5 seem real fun, then keep doing it every week and find guests and make it fresh and keep it exciting, and it's tough.
Oh, here we go. Here's a fun question back onto the paranormal.
Yeah.
What are the typical things that fool people into believing they have a haunting? And I have raccoon. I'm going to throw a squirrel in there.
Mice.
Mice.
Mice is a big thing on the walls.
Furnaces.
Yeah.
Turning on and off. People don't realize that. Or water heat. Yeah, pipes. I mean, it ain't a number of. What was the? Storm window once, even.
Yes, we had the dreaded scratching on the window where it was just a branch. You come out with all your fancy, you think you're fancy with all your equipment and everything, and it's like a branch rubbing on your window there.
Yeah, it's sad to see some of the things that people, but it's good to help. It's good to explain to them that it is a normal thing, and you go back and you break the branch for them, and then it's done. And even though you have your hopes all up that they might actually have something, and then you realize they don't have anything but something normal.
And
it's all good. Go ahead.
It's weird that when you get older, you start thinking differently. Like I've seen, in my house, I've seen more apparitions and even full solid figures, and say there's 5 or 6 in my life that I've seen, and including in haunted houses that I've investigated. And I'm thinking, if I can't verify that this person looks like someone that lived before, like just because you see a white misty figure, why is that automatically a dead person? Like, you know what I mean? Like, I was all in when I was younger, but now just because you see a white form, like, why is that automatically a dead person?
I was at the eye doctor today, and she asked, have you been seeing anything strange? And of course, it didn't help that I was wearing a paranormal shirt, so I guess, maybe, I'm not sure if that was a normal question or a question just for me. And then how do you answer that? Because if you have seen something strange, she's going to look at you like you're full of something, and it was kind of fun, but yeah, you're right. The longer I've been in this field, the less likely I am to believe anything that anybody else tells me. And I have a hard time believing my own story. That's why I'm not writing a paranormal book. That's what, That's why I'm writing this other first, because I still can't convince myself that I believe half of it, even though I witnessed it and lived through it.
Exactly.
And all of that.
I have 5 books all around the house, half written, because they're interesting and everything. But I used to do after I like I said, I had my daughters. I started teaching like a intro to like ghost hunting class at the high school for adult education. It was just basics. Basically it was for people to see the stuff I wanted to tell my stories. It wasn't like, this is how you do it, and you give them tips and stuff on how to get started. But it was just a class I was teaching to keep involved, and that was supposed to answer a question that you just asked, and it didn't.
No, I don't remember the question, so you're all good.
Oh, and I was telling them, I don't believe anything you see that I'm showing you. Go do it yourself. Like I say, go get your recorder and go get voices. We used to just go to a random room that was unoccupied, and they were getting EVPs from in there. One kid got an amazing picture from the where the orchestra sits in their the little concert hall there. And I was like, don't believe everything I have. Go do it yourself. You could. That's what I was trying to show people. Don't believe me. Do it. You could do it yourself.
But here's where I always tell people: make sure you know what you're doing. Not, don't have your lens strap floating around, or you're smoking, or there's any. I mean, you know what I'm saying?
That was
doing it yourself.
The lens strap. You know what I really feel bad for, and this is a tough one, Jim. How would you answer this one? I get a lot of people. I'm sure you get them too. Like somebody will send you a picture of an orb and say, I think this is my grandma Rosemary visiting me around Christmas. And a part of you wants to say, well, it's probably this or that. But it's like, if you think that's your grandmother, good. Then that's your grandmother visiting you. It gives them some kind of comfort. But then there's, you want to tell them it could possibly be this and that, but
Yeah, it's
tough.
And here's the thing. So you tell them that you believe that orb's dust, right? So Jimmy, your orb's dust, even though you believe it's your grandma. You hate me then.
Right.
I'm the worst person in the world because I told you what you come to me and ask my opinion, and then I give you my honest opinion, and you hate me, and you'll sit there and troll my show page and think I'm the worst person ever and all this other stuff. So it got to the point where I just don't anymore. I just don't take the time.
Yeah.
I mean,
I get them once in a while, and I try to give them both sides of the coin,
Yeah, and it's a can't win situation because they've already their mind's already made up when they send you the picture with their story.
Right, and you're not being responsible if you don't give them the correct answer, and you're not being a good guy if you don't help them out a little bit. So it's tough sometimes.
Yeah. So we've kind of danced around this. We're getting close to the end of the show here. So what would be the Jimmy Haunted tip of the night going forward? So things people should be on the lookout for if they're investigating.
In what respect?
Well, anything, just generally, or
just any kind of words of wisdom.
Any kind of words of wisdom. Take it in life if you want. I don't care. Just give me something good, Jimmy. Hit me hard.
The best thing I could tell people is, especially since I started and did not know 20 years from now I'd be questioned. I'd be having a news crew come over to interview me, is to organize your stuff. Because I have audio cassettes, I have DVDs, I have VHS cassettes, I have hard drives full of stuff. And when I first started, I would keep all my pictures in one box. I'd keep all my audio cassettes in another box, all my tapes in another box. Anything they gave me, I'd keep in another folder. And when it comes time to put it all together, I had stuff all over the place. So if I can give anybody advice, it's like, I'm sure it's a lot easier now with all the programs and stuff, but I would keep all my stuff from each investigation separate in a box or whatever, so it's all inclusive in one thing. Because I'm so unorganized, and I wish that I started from the beginning more organized. You never know when you're gonna have to show it to somebody or go back to it and refer back, and it's all over the place. That's me anyway.
That's a good one. I like that. I haven't necessarily it makes so much sense. I haven't processed it through myself. I haven't come up with that one, so that's a good one. So go ahead and throw your website, your Facebook, your Twitter, your...
Yep. My website is mrhaunted.com. If you search Mr. Haunted, MR Haunted, all one word, it comes up with all my stuff. And I don't really Twitter that much until you started Twittering me. So I try to start getting into that. My Twitter is also Mr. Haunted, all one word.
I'll tell you, I blow up Twitter anymore because I get more reaction that way than I do from Facebook. So it's just got to go where the people are. So big shout out to all the people over on Twitter and the Facebook people that are listening. Pick up the pace.
I do pretty good on Facebook. I mean, I don't know. I haven't gotten into the Twitter world yet, but I'm getting all I can handle on Facebook. Really, for me.
Well, see, we have two different stories, and well, it works though. Whatever works for you. Whatever works for you works for you.
Yeah.
So, I guess I should probably be doing my final thought now, since I've asked you for years, because that's normally what I do at this time. And my final thought tonight is keep it simple. Like Jimmy was saying, you got to keep the stuff organized and together. That's good, but keep it simple. Too often anymore, Jimmy probably gets page invites all the time, or invites for events and all this other stuff. Come check out this, that, and the other, and we're the best paranormal group ever, and we have the most outstanding evidence, and all you see is Photoshopped pictures of their logo and your group, and it's like, you want me to watch this video because you've got a 30-second clip of an activity, but everything I see on the page is Photoshopped, and you expect me to believe your clip of video? No. I'm not going to even click the video. It's not worth my time. So, between doing the investigation and how you present yourself and how you live your life, I mean, I asked Jimmy to kind of go broad brush, and I'll go broad brush. Since he kind of stayed in the paranormal, I'll take it over the top. Keep it simple. And I know there's an acronym, and there's another S that I'm not using because I won't refer to any of my listeners as stupid, because I don't think that's nice. So, but some of them are. There. I guess I said I wasn't going to do that. Oh, that's the people that don't listen. Never mind. My bad. Okay. Now I love everybody that listens, and everybody that doesn't, they don't know I don't love them. So it's okay. Thank you for listening to the Malliard Report tonight, airing exclusively on KGRRadio.com, the Global Radio Alliance. To email me, Facebook me, or Twitter me, or for more information about the show, visit italkparanormal.com. Big thanks to Race, the producer. Get feeling better, buddy. To the rest of the KGR staff, the members, all you lovely chatters in the KGR chat room. It's just amazing. I'm sorry I didn't get to all your questions. But until next week, keep quacking.
Before we flip that on-air sign to the off position, a quick reminder. For all things about the report, previews, and reviews, go to italkparanormal.com.
It's the Malliard Report. Yeah, the Malliard Report. The Paranormal Talk Radio Show with Jim Malliard as your host. See what life's beneath. Any paranormal activity. Go inside a world that others don't want to see. It's the Malliard Report. Yeah, the Malliard Report.
That's italkparanormal.com.
Get connected with Take Two Radio on Facebook or Twitter at Take Two Radio. For email updates on future shows, follow at Blog Talk Radio. For previous episodes, upcoming guests, and more, visit TakeTwoRadio.com.